Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. You've been feeling the pressure, the heat, the sharpening. You've questioned the weight you carry, the silence you've walked through, and the battles you never asked for. But heaven wants you to know you are not weak, forgotten, or behind. You are God's battle axe, sharpened for this very hour. Everything you've endured wasn't just hardship. It was holy preparation. You've been shaped for such a time as this. And now, in this divine moment, God is putting his weapons in place, and you are one of them. Let's break it down in 7 chapters. Before we dive deep into this word, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Because this isn't just a video, it's a divine dispatch straight from the throne room. This message isn't for the crowd. It's for the chosen ones who've been sharpened in silence and prepared in pain. If your spirit resonates with this, drop 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't just a number, it's a prophetic code. It's heaven's way of marking those who are aligned, surrendered, and ready to be used by God as his battle axe in this very hour. Not everyone will endure this word to the end, only those who know they've been forged for something greater. If you stay, expect activation. Expect clarity. Expect confirmation that what you've been going through was divine preparation, not punishment. This message isn't a one-time listen. It's a spiritual weapon in itself, layered with truth, power, and strategy. Rewatch it as often as your spirit leads you, because with every replay, God will reveal something deeper, a strategy, a shift, a supernatural instruction meant just for you. Let's get into it. Chapter 1, The Hidden Forging of God's Weapon. Before God reveals a weapon, he conceals it. You've been hidden, not rejected. Covered, not discarded. What felt like isolation was actually divine incubation. You weren't just out of sight. You were in the sacred chamber of transformation. That quiet, painful season where nothing seemed to move, that was the forge of heaven, where the chosen are not just preserved but processed. You weren't abandoned, you were handpicked for refinement. Chosen one, understand this, God doesn't use anything he hasn't first tested, and he doesn't release anything he hasn't first prepared. You were never meant to rise with the crowd. You were meant to rise with weight. You were built for impact, not for approval. The reason your process took so long is because your purpose is so large. The fire you walked through didn't burn you, it branded you. It left a mark on your spirit, a sacred signature that says, this one belongs to God. Every heartbreak, every delay, every season of silence was a tool in his hand. He used what the enemy meant for harm to sculpt your resilience, sharpen your spirit, and strengthen your voice. While others were building outward, God was building you inward. There were nights you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if your life had any value. But behind the scenes, heaven was nodding in approval, saying, they're almost ready. You were being trained in obedience that doesn't waver, faith that doesn't shake, and discernment that doesn't flinch. What you've been through wasn't random, it was required. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You've been made durable. Durable in the face of pressure. Durable in the midst of delay. Durable even when misunderstood. You carry the marks of someone who's been through God's private school of power. And now, the same atmosphere that overlooked you will soon celebrate you, but not because you sought attention, because you carry authority. Your story isn't about survival anymore, it's about strategy. You're not just someone who made it, you're someone who's made for it. And now, as the veil lifts and your season of hiding comes to an end, you're stepping into the reason you were hidden all along. The enemy thought your delay was his win, but it was God's design. Because weapons are not made in the open. They're forged in fire, shaped in silence, and revealed when the time is right. And, chosen one, this is your hour. Chapter 2, You've been sharpened by struggle and stripped for strategy. Every time you survived a situation that tried to break you, you gained an edge. Every betrayal you didn't fight back against. Every loss you endured in silence. Every delay that tested your patience, these weren't just hardships. They were hidden training grounds. God wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. You weren't being left behind. You were being sharpened in secret. God has been molding you into a precise instrument. While others were chasing attention, you were chasing alignment. While they were trying to avoid pain, you were walking through it. With your eyes on purpose. And in every dark moment, every confusing season, heaven was at work refining your spirit and shaping your obedience into strategy. That heartbreak didn't destroy you, it exposed your depth. It revealed your capacity to love purely, to let go gracefully, and to heal without hardening. That financial struggle? It didn't define you, it disciplined you. It taught you how to operate with clarity, how to move without waste, how to rely on spiritual riches when physical ones ran dry. That long delay, it wasn't a punishment. It was a promotion in disguise. It slowed you down just enough to recognize what was truly for you and what was sent to distract you. Now you move differently. You don't just talk, you release truth. You don't just react, you respond with wisdom. God stripped you of superficial desires so you could carry supernatural discernment. You used to crave results, now you crave revelation. You used to seek validation, now you seek instruction. Chosen one, the dullness that used to follow you is gone. You don't move with the crowd anymore, you move with clarity. You don't follow what's trending, you follow what's eternal. You are no longer just a believer. You are a strategist in the spirit. The very pain that tried to silence you has given your voice weight. The silence you once feared has become your sanctuary. You hear what others miss. You sense what others ignore. You're being positioned not just to fight, but to win the war behind the scenes. You've learned how to see the battle from heaven's view. You've stopped asking, why me, and started declaring, use me. You've stopped explaining yourself to people who can't see the calling on your life. You now walk in rooms as the answer, not the question. You carry solutions in your spirit, wisdom in your timing, and favor in your movement. God didn't just bring you through the struggle to make you stronger. He brought you through to make you sharper. You are no longer swinging wildly, you are being released with precision. You are a weapon formed in the fire, released in due time. And hear this clearly, the moments where you felt the most stripped, the most exposed, the most broken, those were the very moments heaven was carving out the sharpest part of your edge. Those silent seasons didn't weaken you, they focused you. They didn't just humble you, they helped you hear God's whisper in the chaos. Now, your discernment is lethal to the enemy. Your silence carries weight. Your prayers shake foundations. Your insight disarms darkness before it even speaks. You've been made for such a time as this. And when God releases you fully, you won't need to announce it, the impact will. Chapter 3, The enemy fears your form because you've been forged. Chosen one, you may not fully grasp the magnitude of what's happening around you, but in the spirit realm, your very presence shakes the atmosphere. You've been in a long season of stretching, of testing, of hidden warfare. Not because you were weak, but because you were becoming dangerous. Hell has been watching you with trembling. Because even when you didn't know who you were, darkness did. That's why you were hit with wave after wave of silent battles. That's why certain people turned on you for no reason. Why depression tried to creep in when you were finally getting your footing. Why the moment you started walking in purpose, the enemy launched distractions, confusion, and fear. It wasn't random. It was resistance, because your formation threatened the very foundations of what the enemy built around you. Heaven has been forging you in the shadows. And now, hell is aware of your shape. You are not a random soul. You are a weapon in the hand of the Most High. And not just any weapon, you are a battle axe, sharpened for impact, built for breaking barriers, and chosen to cut through lies that have stood for generations. The enemy fears you because you move with precision. You don't just speak to trends, you speak to spirits. You don't just talk truth, you carry revelation. You don't just have charisma, you've been clothed in authority. That's why you've been under so much fire. Because you were never meant to just survive, you were born to strike. A battle axe isn't made to sit pretty. It's not for decoration or display. It's made to engage, to cut, to bring down. And so are you. You're not being raised up to live in fear or walk on eggshells. You've been anointed to confront strongholds. You've been graced to pull down the systems, structures, and generational lies that held your bloodline captive. That's why your voice has been under assault. The enemy tried to silence you before you ever discovered the power of your sound. He sent insecurity to shrink your presence, distractions to dull your focus, and fake connections to waste your energy. But all he did was push you closer to God. All he did was activate your discernment. All he did was provoke the very sharpening that made you deadly to his kingdom. Chosen one, you are not a casualty. You are a catalyst. You are not here to conform. You're here to confront. Every time you rose after being knocked down, the kingdom of darkness took another loss. Every prayer you whispered in the dark. Every tear you cried in surrender. Every act of obedience when it made no sense. They weren't in vain. They were sharpening your edge. And now you don't just carry passion. You carry power. You carry clarity. You carry divine instruction wrapped in obedience. The enemy isn't afraid of who you were. He's afraid of who you are becoming. Because when you step fully into the awareness of your divine form, systems shake, chains break, and captives are set free. Starting with your own bloodline, the warfare wasn't proof that you were weak. It was confirmation that you were worth stopping. But here you are, still rising, still moving, still standing, still speaking. That alone proves that what's inside you is greater than what's been against you. You are God's battle axe, heaven's weapon of precision. And now, as you begin to see yourself through the eyes of the one who formed you, the enemy's worst fear is coming true. You're no longer hiding. You're awakening. Chapter 4. You are carrying deliverance in your design. Chosen one. Hear this clearly. You are not just a survivor of pain. The things you overcame weren't random. They were part of the pattern. That depression you wrestled with, it's why your words now carry healing. That abuse you endured in silence, it's why your presence now exposes and dismantles what others are too afraid to name. That rejection you faced for years, it trained you to recognize others who are on the verge of giving up and speak life back into them. You are not just a healed person. You are a healing vessel. You were designed with divine precision. Your voice was shaped by struggle. Your eyes were trained by darkness. Your heart was expanded by heartbreak. Why? Because God was crafting a deliverer. Not a celebrity, a servant. Not a showman, a liberator. Not a follower of the crowd. Like Moses, you were pulled from the waters of trauma, identity crisis, and confusion. You were protected when you should have drowned. You were raised in places that didn't understand you. You spoke with hesitation, yet you carried a mantle to lead generations into freedom. You didn't fit in because you were built to pull out, to lead people out of cycles, out of fear, out of systems that no longer serve God's plan. Like David, your training wasn't glamorous. Nobody clapped for you while you fought lions and bears in private. You didn't get awards for staying faithful when no one saw your struggle. But every tear, every test, every lonely night in the field was preparation for your Goliath. That unseen preparation has now become your supernatural precision. You know how to war with worship. You know how to fight without folding. That's why God trusts you with deliverance. And like Esther, your rise wasn't loud, it was strategic. You were being groomed in silence. God was giving you favor in hidden places, upgrading your wisdom, expanding your influence. Not so you could enjoy the palace, but so you could preserve a people. You weren't called to blend in with royalty. You were called to interrupt injustice. You were prepared privately because your impact will be public. You've been anointed to confront what others avoid, to carry peace into chaos, to call truth into places gripped by deception, to walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere without saying a word. You don't need a microphone to have authority. You don't need validation to move in power. You don't need a platform to cause deliverance. You are the platform. Your testimony is the key. Your obedience is the weapon. Your life is the message. And let this be clear, deliverance is not just about casting out demons. It's about breaking patterns, restoring clarity, and birthing new paths for others to walk in. Your very design was tailored for disruption. Your presence challenges what's fake. Your discernment exposes what's hidden. Your love pierces through pride. Your existence is a contradiction to everything the enemy tried to do in your bloodline. That's why you're so misunderstood. That's why people either cling to you or run from you, because you carry deliverance. You stir things up without trying. You awaken what others have buried. You represent freedom to people who are still chained. And that kind of freedom is confrontational. Chapter 5. This hour requires holy weapons, and you are one. Chosen one, you were not just called for a time. You were forged for this hour. We are in a season where light is being mistaken for noise, truth is being watered down for popularity, and compromise is being sold as love. But while the world drifts into confusion, heaven is making moves. And you are one of those moves. God does not send trends. He sends tools. He doesn't promote what's popular. He positions what's pure. Right now, heaven is activating its most trusted instruments. Not the loudest. Not the most followed. But the most consecrated. The ones who stayed in the wilderness. The ones who endured the fire without bowing to the flames. The ones who didn't sell their voice for applause or bend their truth for platforms. The ones like you. You weren't preserved just to survive these times. You were preserved to pierce through them. Your obedience is a weapon. Your purity is a strike. Your discernment is a sword. In a world full of noise, your clarity is a cutting edge. While others echo what's trending, you carry what's true. And truth isn't always received, but it is always needed. The hour we're in demands holy weapons, and you are one. Not a weapon formed by ego, pride, or ambition, but a weapon shaped by fire, silence, discipline, and devotion. You weren't made in the spotlight. You were forged in secret, in prayer rooms, in lonely seasons, in dry valleys, in spaces where no one clapped. But God was sharpening your edge. You are not called to blend in with culture. You are sent to break through it. You don't move like everyone else because you're not like everyone else. You are cut from a different cloth, anointed with a different oil, called with a different frequency. That's why you've always felt out of place. Because God didn't build you to fit in. He built you to break patterns and birth shifts. You weren't sent to entertain. You were sent to confront. Your calling is disruptive by design, but it's righteous in motive. You don't confront for attention. You confront for alignment. You carry the weight of heaven's intention in your spirit. When you speak, atmospheres listen. When you move, regions respond. Not because of you, but because of what's been placed inside you. God is raising up an army, but it's not what the world expects. He's raising up pure voices, pure hearts, and pure hands, those who haven't compromised their altar for exposure. You don't need a crowd. You don't need a title. Because you walk with a mantle. You carry heaven's fire in your bones. You are not just a believer. You are a burning one. This hour requires holiness, humility, and heat. Not lukewarm opinions. Not recycled sermons. But raw, unfiltered, God-breathed truth. Chapter 6. Obedience is your activation code. Chosen one, there is a reason why the warfare intensified when you began to walk in obedience. It wasn't just about your steps. It was about your surrender. You see, being God's battle axe isn't about striving harder, doing more, or trying to prove your worth. It's about surrendering deeper, yielding fully, and saying yes, even when it costs everything. Obedience is not weakness. It's warfare. Every time you obey, you shift something in the spirit. Your yes to God isn't just a response. It's an activation code. It unlocks realms. It opens gates. It breaks chains. It releases angels on assignment. When you choose to obey in secret, heaven responds in power. When you say yes in private, God moves publicly. You weren't positioned in this season by accident. You've been drawn back like an arrow in the hand of the Almighty. And He's been aiming you through every delay, every test, every silent moment. He's been adjusting your posture through the wilderness and sharpening your edge through every heartbreak. Because now, in this hour, He's ready to release you. But make no mistake, the trajectory of the arrow is determined by the surrender of the string. If you fight the tension, you'll miss the target. If you resist the stretch, you'll fall short of your destiny. That's why surrender isn't optional. It's essential. The more surrendered you are, the more accurate your impact. Obedience sharpens you. Obedience aligns you. Obedience activates the very mantle you were born to carry. You've already been chosen, anointed, and prepared. But obedience is the switch that turns the power on. God won't force your yes. But He will wait for it. And when you give it, the heavens move. Your obedience is doing more than you know. It's making way for those who come after you. It's rewriting patterns. It's rebuilding altars. It's restoring things in your bloodline that were broken for generations. You're not just following instructions. You're birthing deliverance. Every time you choose God over comfort, eternity shifts. You may not see it yet, but legacy is being carved through your surrender. That's why the enemy attacks your consistency. That's why distractions rise the moment you draw near to God. Because hell knows when you stay in alignment, you become unstoppable. Your obedience is a weapon hell cannot duplicate, manipulate, or destroy. It's a divine frequency that commands heaven's attention. Chosen one, stay close. Don't trade intimacy for influence. Don't trade purity for applause. You've been trusted with truth. Now be faithful with obedience. This next level of your assignment won't require more hustle. It will require more surrender. You won't need to force doors. You'll be invited through them. But your readiness won't be measured by your talent. It'll be measured by your trust. God is not looking for the most gifted. He's looking for the most obedient. The mantle on your life is weighty. It's generational. It's holy. And it requires a lifestyle that matches the oil. Your yes is not just about you. It's about the lives tied to your obedience, the chains that will break, the minds that will be set free, the nations that will shift because you said yes. So don't despise the quiet seasons. Don't underestimate the small instructions. They are preparing you for strategic release. You are being led with precision, shaped with purpose, and launched in power. Your only job, stay surrendered. Keep your edge sharp. Keep your heart clean. Chapter 7. When God swings you, nothing can stand against you. Chosen one, you have reached a divine tipping point. This isn't just the power is not in how loud you are. It's in how led you are. It's not in your appearance. It's in your alignment. God is not looking for performers. He's looking for purity, for those who still tremble at His voice, for those who fear missing Him more than missing a platform, for those who would rather carry weight in the spirit than clout in the world. And that's why you're being raised now, because God found those things in you. This hour is fierce. The battle is real. But so is your anointing. You've been anointed to pierce darkness, to unseat demonic influence, to walk into rooms and shift the air. You're not showing up to be liked. You're showing up to uproot, to bind, to loose, to tear down, to build up. Your presence is not passive. It's prophetic. The enemy knows this. That's why the pressure intensified. That's why the warfare got personal, because your movement in this hour terrifies hell. You are not just coming with words. You are coming with power. You carry divine permission. And when you are swung by the hand of God, nothing, not history, not systems, not witchcraft, not gossip, not doubt, can withstand. Thank you.